What we may do, I think, in the interests of all of the people in the gallery, is move to the item, the Hagley Ferrymead Community Board item, item 24, page 201. Sarah.
Good morning. Good morning. You've heard Tony speak. I think it's pretty clear. It's not just about education in Phillipstown, it's about community. The council has invested a lot over the years in strengthening the community in that area, and it is centred around the school. We need a 2-year reprieve, and the board would like to recommend to council that they support Phillipstown in their bid for a 2-year reprieve, and we would like you guys to do that today, please. I thought earlier that we said that we were just going to deal with this and then go back to... I've got several other part A's for later in the meeting. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I think it would be good coming from the Deputy Mayor and maybe one of us seconding it. But no, I think the significance of this is it's really important for the city, and I think the higher the position that moves it, the better. So,
it's supported by Tony and moved by me, may not be helpful at the Ministry of Education.
I don't think it'll be any more.
But I'm very happy to move.
Me, so,
but I am very happy to move.
Okay.
I think that the whole issue of what we have in our community and the community infrastructure is really, really important. And the key part of our infrastructure, while wastewaters are really important and roads are really important, the very key part of any city is its people. And if people are working together well and supporting each other and doing things that we want to have happen in our city, then that's actually well worthy of us supporting. So I have no problem with the fact that we are stepping into the area of the Ministry of Education or a government decision. This is our community, and I totally agree with the people of Phillipstown that we need to stand up for what we think is absolutely right. I have never supported the closure of Phillipstown School. I think it's a daft move, and I think a school that works well with its community for the benefits of its community is absolutely pivotal, just as great community centres are pivotal, great swimming pools are pivotal. And a school is all about its people. It takes, as we know, a village to raise a child, and in this instance, this village is going to grow quite dramatically. I thought the point about sea level rise and the flood-prone nature of some of the sites was really important, actually. I don't quite understand completely the Ministry of Education's rationale in all of these mergers and closures at all. But I think this is a community that has proven to us time and time again that it wants to achieve an outcome that works not only for the kids but for the whole families in that area. It's an area we have, over a long period of time, put a lot of effort and resource into. And it's not just because that we've invested in it, it's the fact that it works and that community wants it to stay. And I think if a community tells you what it wants as an outcome for that community, then it makes our job incredibly easy. Our job is simply to represent those communities. And if that requires us asking the government to do something that it's not currently planning to do, that's very, very simple from our point of view. So I'm very happy to move it. And seconded by Yanni. Anybody want to speak? Let me guess, Yanni.
Look, thank you. I strongly urge council to support this motion. This is really important, and I know and I thank council for the support that they've previously given to Phillipstown School. But I think the point that was made is that as more and more information comes to light, many of the concerns and issues that were raised in the initial consultation have borne out to become reality. And I just want to hold up two maps. The first is the intensification map. And we know that this area in yellow, and you can see Phillipstown School here, this is what's happening to our city. This is the zoning that we have around Phillipstown, which the government, as you recall, wanted to extend right across the wider Linwood area, as we have considered through our district plan. So we know that government want us to intensify in areas around where activity happens. And fundamental to having intensification is a requirement to have schools. So it's totally contrary to what government want to do in terms of intensification to be closing this school. This is not a merger, it is a closure. Let's be really clear about that. The second map is the flood hazard map, and this is, and you can't see because it's not in high enough detail, but what you can see from this map is a little piece of green space, just here. It's really tiny, but you can see that this blue is Woolston, and this little green spot is Phillipstown. It's actually outside of our flood area. So you can see really clearly that the proposal to close the school and put it into Woolston, into a significant area of flood risk, makes no sense. And these maps have just, again, come out recently before the substantial opportunity was to present this information. So that's two very good reasons. But the third reason I say, and I ask council to support this, is that this is about local democracy. We know this is a government that doesn't respect democracy, but we as a council do. We as a city have a proud tradition going back to Kate Shepherd of being a democratic and progressive society in this town called Christchurch. And we should adhere to those values above all else. And we've heard the concern about the democracy and the lack of it that is happening in this case. Just think about what message it sends to the Phillipstown community to have already appointed the new Board of Trustees before the nominations have closed. That is outrageous. That is unacceptable. That is not the sort of democracy that we should be living in a modern day New Zealand society. And at the very least, we should be sending a clear signal to government that what they're doing here is fundamentally and absolutely wrong. It is in breach of people's basic democratic human rights, and we should oppose what they're doing. And in conclusion, I'll just say, totally endorse the huge amount of investment that's gone into this area over the past 2 decades. We as a council, we as a society have invested in Phillipstown. We've seen the government take the stadium and move it away from Phillipstown. We've seen a loss of things in this area while the school has remained. If you take the school away from this area, you are taking away its heart, and that will have a huge negative social consequence. And so it is absolutely right that we stand up and oppose and ask for a reprieve. The government is acting in isolation against its own housing department, its own police department. Those departments have invested huge resources into this area, as have we as a council. And government interested in issues of financial efficiency should know that why waste good money? Why waste that investment for a short-term gain at a long-term cost to us as a society and us as a city? So I commend Phillipstown School for standing up. I commend that local community for standing up, and I urge this council to stand up and support.
I'll stand up as well. We're doing a bit less of that in this term of council, but this is a very significant issue. Something very fishy about this. There's no clear rationale for the closure. We have marched, we've protested over the closure of Phillipstown School. There's still no clear understanding over the intent by which it's being closed. Naomi Klein in Disaster Capitalism writes about good ideas waiting for a disaster to happen. That's the only conclusion I can come to at this point. It's an idea that's been waiting in the wings. Earthquake comes along, let's merge 2 schools, which, as my colleague Councillor Johansson's just said, is actually the closure of 2 communities. It does fly in the face of logic when you look at the investment by Housing New Zealand and also by this council as well in that local community. And I take very much to heart what you've said here today, Tony and team, about local democracy. We do know our communities best. We knock on their doors, walk the streets, and interact with them daily and weekly. This is about democracy, and it's been taken away, and I urge you, along with Yanni, to fully support this.
I'm not an eloquent councillor because the English is my second language. However, I fully support the Hagley Ferrymead Community Board and also Phillipstown, the school board of trustees recommendation to reply 2 years, for the consider the merger of Phillipstown school and with the Worston school. The first reason is I was touched by their board of trustees. The issue is this kind of the decision making by the Ministry of Education was pre-consent. So right now the demographics has the bigger significant change. So Tony, he mentioned earlier, this decision was not based interest for the children and for the community. It's touched my heart. Because we are aware, actually the children, the kids, is our asset, is our future, is our hope. And also they will become the pillars in this country. That's very important. If in there the kind of school time period, they are unhappy to study, if they change their study environment, probably they have not achieved a good result or outcome. So probably in the future, it's not benefit to this community and also to this country. So this is my particular the concern. And also the figure, is compared to the after earthquake, significant in Phillipstown, the surrounding area, the increase for the 8.4 the percentage is rather than normal, it's a drop. That's the figure can speak, I was touched the figure. So I would like to, council can engage with the Ministry of Education and also some other government agency or a not-profit agency to dealing with the issue. This is my thought. Yeah, thank you.
You weren't eloquent. Andrew, and then Paul and Jamie I've got.
I'm not so sure whether I'll be as eloquent as Jimmy or not, but I'll do my best. It would be easy to think that this debate's about education, but this in fact is about a whole lot more than education. This is about community, and in this case it's about a community which has clearly got the school at its heart. It's about a community which is strong and connected and vibrant and has got a lot of community groups and community activities going on within it, and where the school has been an essential part of the networking and the relationship building that's allowed all of that good work to happen. Now, my Banks Peninsula ward has an example of where there's a merger of two schools in Littleton, which is logical and which has been done for the most part very well. What we're seeing today is an example of a merger which seems to be illogical and which isn't being done so well. And I have some concerns prior to the meeting this morning, and I have certainly more concerns as a result of what I've seen and heard this morning. So I certainly commend the school and its board for taking the action they've taken. I commend the Hagley Ferrymead Community Board for taking the action that they've taken in bringing this recommendation to us today. Council, it could be argued, has got no role to play in education whatsoever, but we definitely have a role to play in community, and it's for that reason that I'll certainly be supporting the recommendation today.
Well, I'm a first-term councillor, and I've been observing my new community. My community prior to this earthquake was, prior to this being elected, was the central city, and it was my job in that role to actually build a city community. And I work with the police, I work with the businesses and the people in the city, and I know actually how hard it is to build a heart. It is incredibly hard, and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of stress, and I think the Phillipstown School and the police and the community have actually shown the rest of the city what it does and what it needs to do to actually keep themselves together. And if we don't support this, then we're not supporting keeping communities together. I think you guys have done an absolute tremendous job. And one thing I really, really admire is the fact that you haven't taken no for the answer. You are pushing and pushing and pushing to get yourselves to the point where you actually feel that you're getting something you deserve. And I think you deserve to be supported. I think the people of Phillipstown deserve to be supported. And I think we need to support our police, who have actually shown an incredible amount of effort in reducing the issues in the city. So we're not just supporting this community, we're actually supporting our city and the people that actually look after our city. Tony, you and your team support the city and you support your community really, really well. I think the policing unit that are in there helping you are supporting your community, but actually they're supporting the wider community by reducing those issues. And if you want to take one model of actually how to do it, you guys have shown what that model is. And if we don't support it, we're not supporting a model for actually growing a better city.
It's funny actually because I'm a second-term councillor now, and I think I've changed in a lot of ways over the last 5 years. I think I've got hairier, but that. Well, no, it's a winter coat, Ellie. Don't get too carried away here. But I think I would have been a councillor that would have come in here and told you to stick to your knitting. I think in the early days, so often council gets far too ahead of itself and does a whole lot of things they never needed to do and goes into spaces which they're totally unqualified to even talk in. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen all the time. I'm not saying that we're perfect, but I think I was a person that would have been pretty clear that this is a governance role. When you take a flight to Wellington or something next week and your flight's delayed, you don't ring up a director of Air New Zealand and have a cup of coffee with them and talk about it. That does happen as a councillor though. But this actually just isn't a true governance role. And I think how I've developed over the time as a city councillor is that that's actually why you want to do this role, because you want to be a part of it. And does it mean there's a little bit of governance and management meddling at times? Yeah, there is, but it's our job to do it. I think where I've also changed a bit over the last 5 years is that, well, government has its role and council has its role. I think a big part of our role is to be an advocate for the community. I think that probably 4 years ago, I would have said, you've got an education department that's in place to make a call, and we've got roads to repair and put together a budget that balances for an annual plan. And I think why I'm standing up here today telling you guys that I support the resolution that's in front of us and saying that I endorse what the community have come and told us today is because I think that's really important as a role of a city councillor. I think I've seen the government at times, they haven't necessarily stuck to their knitting, and this isn't a dig, but the Crown has never been so holier than thou to never put in a dig when they thought that we were doing something wrong. So if I've learnt something over how a relationship's been, at times it's not about one-upsmanship, but it's about standing up for what you believe. And I ran for council because I love my city and I want everyone else to love it as much as I do. And I'm not so stupid to think that it's only one aspect that makes a city. Is an economy important? Yeah, of course it is. But it's a waste of time if you don't have the infrastructure. Is infrastructure important? Yes, of course it is. But if you've got no people to fill it and no passion in there, it's all just a waste of time. It's like legs of a chair, and one thing in isolation is utterly irrelevant. So I was really heartened just to hear a great group of people that are so passionate about their community come along here this morning. And it makes me pretty proud as a city councillor to slightly step out of what's my knitting and to meddle with the governance and management, because I think you guys have done a bloody good job and I support you. I thought it was a daft idea from the start. I think it's a daft idea now. And is it my role to really support this and go to the government saying this? Probably not, but I'm happy to and I'm proud to. So good on you guys.
I put that motion. I suspect it might pass. Okay, so it's moved and seconded, and I'll put that motion. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carried unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Actually, at 10:30 there was a cup of tea and coffee served, so it is out there. So we'll break for 10 minutes. Is that okay? You're all very welcome. I don't know how many cups there are, so it's first out there, best dressed. Yeah, but we'll be back here in 10 minutes, which is 10:55.